Now, this one that we see right here that I believe should have been a flagrant foul was not called that. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called.
Caitlin Clark, she finally exposed all those corrupt WNBA referees who made her life hard all year. Remember, when she got her 6th technical foul just for hitting the stanchion out of frustration? It wasn't a one-time thing. She's been the target of questionable calls all season, with refs seeming to single her out for no good reason.
Renee Carrington poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. Caitlin fell to the ground. She was holding her face. The refs did not call a foul. They didn't call a flagrant.
Remember that time she got penalized for barely brushing an opponent's face? Or when she let out a loud celebratory shout and, bam, got a technical foul. But where were these refs when Dejonai Carrington smacked her in the eye, leaving her half-blind yet still playing in the playoffs? Probably out having lunch or just ignoring it. Whatever the excuse, it doesn't even matter now because Clark's been speaking up about it, and honestly, that's enough.
That is the use of these WNBA referees pretty much altering games, changing the outcome of games, and something has to be done in regards to that matter. The WNBA referees has definitely been playing a major role in who's winning games and who's losing games.
We all know Caitlin Clark's season has been incredible, but there's one big issue that keeps following her, a special whistle that no one can ignore. She's been a powerhouse, breaking records left and right. She's the NCAA all-time leading scorer with an amazing 3,951 points, surpassing legends like Kelsey Plum and even Pete Maravich. She's literally rewriting the record books every game. But the way she's being treated by the refs right now, it's completely unfair.
Here's Clark for 29 points, gets tripped up. So the Fever really stretched out this one in the second half as we look at Diamond DeShields and Caitlin Clark.
It's like every time she's in a play, the refs are following a different set of rules that ignore fouls against her and overlook obvious calls. The bias in the WNBA is as clear as a triple-double on the stat sheet.
The hesitation, working inside the reverse. Owen took a big hit there on Jackie.
When other players commit shoulder charges or land in someone's face, they get called out right away. But for Clark, it's like the refs don't even see it. Maybe they're too busy watching her break records to notice these obvious missed calls.
There can be women who are older than you, better than you on your team, but if they see that you are a young star and you're doing really well, they will do whatever they can do to sabotage your success.
This special treatment from the refs isn't just a small problem. It seriously affects the game. She's a playmaker, one of the most talented on the court, but her team has to struggle without getting the same fair calls that other star players get. It's honestly disappointing when you think about it.
Unfortunately, on top of taking the L to the Aces, she also picked up her 6th technical foul in the second quarter of last night's game after slapping the side of the basket, the padding on the basket down there in frustration.
Then there's the issue with technical fouls. It's starting to feel like a witch hunt. Caitlin Clark has gotten 6 technical fouls this season, and it's not for throwing punches or starting fights. No, these fouls are just for her showing frustration. Seriously? 6 technicals just because she's that good?
It's major because it's her 6th one. If she gets one more, she is suspended.
Clark is now just 2 technical fouls away from a suspension. 2 fouls for what? For being human? Is the WNBA trying to punish her just for showing a bit of emotion on the court? She's not throwing punches or yelling at the refs. She's just being herself. Yet somehow, Clark seems to be held to a different standard, with refs ready to call her out whenever she shows any emotion.
I think she got fouled and missed those 2 free throws and then, got frustrated with the officiating at times. But, that's where we've got to be better and we've got to, handle those things. It's not going to be perfect. Those guys aren't going to be perfect. We're not perfect.
The big question is how these technical fouls will shape Clark's reputation, making her seem like an emotional player, even though we know she's just passionate and driven. This kind of labeling can have long-term effects.
Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Yo, petty girl.
But this situation is actually a win because now the world can see the true colors of these biased referees. Caitlin turned the tables and exposed the kind of unfair treatment happening behind the scenes in the WNBA. According to her, a ref gave her a technical foul just for, wait for it, showing emotion after a bad call. Shocking, right? And the thing is, experts, fans, and even some referees know this is wrong.
I think she got fouled and missed those 2 free throws, and then got frustrated with the officiating at times. But that's where we've got to be better.
In the bigger picture, it's clear that Clark is getting unfair treatment, and it's not just from one game. The league keeps getting it wrong, punishing her for showing frustration while ignoring obvious fouls right in front of them. It almost feels like the refs are trying to make her out to be the villain just for being passionate. But don't worry, WNBA. You'll hopefully figure this out eventually.
Seattle, and all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44.
When you're one of the top players in the WNBA, you'd expect the referees to give you a little protection, right? But that's not what Caitlin Clark has been getting this season. It's almost like the refs have a blind spot whenever she's on the court. And it's not just small calls being missed. There are dangerous, game-changing situations that are being completely ignored.
There was also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky.
There's a strong argument that Caitlin Clark is being targeted by referees in some sort of unfair vendetta. 80% of her flagrant fouls this season came from the Chicago Sky. That's right, just one team. How is it possible that one team is getting more flagrant fouls against her than most of the league combined? That's hard to ignore, right? Statistically, it's a huge red flag. And it's not just fans speculating. People on social media have been talking about it, pointing out the clear bias in how Clark is treated by the refs. It's not just a random opinion. It's a pattern that's hard to miss, and it's raising a lot of concerns.
But now is a funny one because we're now seeing the same WNBA media that were happy. Well, not even, I'm not going to say happy, but we're oh, these are normal fouls. This is just normal basketball. Now, when it happens in the NBA, making it a bigger deal. And this is where kind of the problem is that it was one rule for Caitlin and one rule for everybody else.
This treatment isn't just coming from fans or online comments. Some of the most respected WNBA analysts and commentators have started mentioning it during broadcasts. They're openly questioning if there's referee bias against Clark, and they're not afraid to call it out. What's even more concerning is that as the WNBA works to gain more attention, fans, and respect, the integrity of the game is being seriously questioned. The league has made progress in recent years, but this issue could set it back.
She controls the game and play makes and gets everybody involved, but also, the step backs and her shot. She reminds me a lot of Luka.
The league has been growing, getting more attention, and attracting more viewers, but the issues with officiating are a big setback. New fans or casual viewers won't stick around if they think the game is rigged, or if they keep seeing their favorite players treated unfairly. If referees keep being this inconsistent and biased, it's going to hurt the WNBA in the long run.
And take notes from the NBA. What the NBA did elevated the product. Let these women score more, let them put points up, and stop these BS cheap.
I think the WNBA should focus on better training for the refs. Sure, they know what a basketball looks like, but the WNBA could learn a lot from the NBA, which has spent decades improving its officiating. The NBA has set a standard, so why not let the WNBA take some tips and train their refs to handle pressure more consistently?
And the superstars on all levels, Caitlin Clark, A'ja Wilson, Nafisa Collier, Sabrina Ionescu, Breanna Stewart, they should all get a special whistle. Nneka Ogwumike, they should all get a special whistle. Those are the stars. That's the privilege you get when you get to that.
When it comes to star protection, we all know how the NBA makes sure its top players get some extra leeway. If LeBron James gets touched in the paint, the refs are likely to call a foul, even if it's a soft one, because they know he's crucial to the league. He brings in fans, ratings, and sponsorships. But here's an idea. Could the WNBA use this moment to make a bold move? Could they show they're ready to fix the system, take responsibility, and put players first? It's time to look beyond the usual problems and ask if it's time to reset how games are officiated, how players are treated, and how the league positions itself for the future. If they don't act now, it won't just be the referees who need retraining. The whole league might need a serious wake-up call. So what's it going to be, WNBA? Keep ignoring the issues, or step up and fix it. The clock is ticking.